Well, if you're wondering why farmers are so concerned about their farm finances right now, they really just can't catch a break. It's not just because corn prices are below break even for most. It's the fact input prices are so high, and relief specifically within the price of inputs does not look to be in sight. In fact, input prices could be even higher this fall. But could the one big beautiful bill provide the help farmers desperately need? That's this weekend's Farm Journal report.
David Hula doesn't just know how to grow corn.
We see the integrity of the stalk's pretty good, and we're not quite pollinating yet.
He's arguably the king of corn yields.
We don't even see the silk starting to pop out or the tassels.
Hula doesn't farm in the heart of the Midwest where farmers are known for growing big yields. This farmland, where he calls home, is just 60 miles from the Atlantic coast in Charles City, Virginia.
Every year is different. You know, every grower's up to a challenge, and 2025, we had a great planting. It started out perfect. I mean, had good moisture, dry. Then all of a sudden, after we were done, we got some rain, then we got rain, then we got rain, and then we got cold. After that, things have been pretty decent, except for this last 10 days, we've been hot.
That lack of GDUs may not be an issue long. It wasn't just hot to end June. Hula saw triple-digit heat for a week straight last week.
The 100-day corns that we got planted, you know, they're pollinating now. So that's a little bit of a concern, because woke up this morning and it was like 78 degrees, and you know, corn likes to cool down. So I'm concerned a little bit, but not nearly as much as I would be concerned if we had the same kind of heat 2 weeks from now.
Hula is the reigning world corn yield record holder. In 2023, these soils produced a corn yield of 623 bushels per acre, a world record he's achieved not once, but 5 times. But Hula isn't so sure that 600 bushel per acre corn is in the cards for this year.
It is, but not on Rimwood Farms. So, yeah, it's going to take more than 1 acre to do that this year. Just that's what my thought is right now, because of the way the season's been. But you know, we still got a long way to go before we're finished.
If farmers want to turn a profit this year, it's going to take high yields. Falling corn prices were already painting a poor financial picture for 2025, but fertilizer prices surged higher to finish June. With the corn to fertilizer price ratio now some of the worst in history, it's likely farmers will be spending more on fertilizer this fall.
When we look at the price of urea versus the grain price, you know, something we look at quite a bit, especially the corn price, incredibly high values. And this is what the farmers are struggling with. They're saying my corn price, my grain price continues to fall almost daily, and yet my fertilizer prices are insanely too high.
Josh Linville is vice president of fertilizer for StoneX Financial. He says the current fertilizer versus corn price ratio is at historic levels. Urea ranks the 3rd worst in history. UAN is 2nd worst, and phosphate prices are currently the worst in history compared to where corn prices are today. Fertilizer prices were already high, but shot higher after the U.S. struck Iran's nuclear sites in June.
At one point, following the attack of the U.S. on Iran, the Strait of Hormuz was the discussion point. Are they going to shut it down or not? That was the final push higher on the values. When you look at that height versus where December 26 corn was at that point in time, that was the highest ratio, the most number of bushels of corn to pay for 1 ton of urea that we had ever seen for that time of year. We beat 2008. Now, fortunately, that only lasted for a couple of days, but just to give you a sense of how out of whack these values are.
What is your advice for farmers? Do you think that this is the highest prices we will see for 2025?
I don't want to say this out loud, but no. Unfortunately, when you look at these events, these are all being globally driven. The urea, the nitrogen situation is very much between Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East fighting. The phosphate continues to be the fact that China is restricting exports, and India, the biggest buyer, continues to play catch up. Potash, the manufacturers around the world were able to get India and China to sign off on a very, very high price versus where it was last year, and that sets the tone for the rest of the marketplace around the world.
As input prices climb, margins are a disappointment for farmers. But as the House and Senate worked overtime to get President Trump's one big beautiful bill across the finish line this week, many in agriculture say the bill is good news, providing additional support growers desperately need this year.
The 2025 crop is going to be, or shaping up to be, the 3rd year in a row that farmers will see both the market prices and the support levels below cost of production. Now, one of the reasons why this bill is so important is that for the reference price that applies to the PLC and ARC programs, those higher reference prices that are in this legislation apply to this year's crop. And that is important because it will help if prices stay low, stay where they are. This will put some additional support in the grower's pocket for the crop that they're going to harvest this fall.
National Cotton Council says the Big Beautiful Bill increases seed cotton reference price by 14% for the 2025 crop. And it's estimated that cotton producers will receive an additional $86 per base acre for this year. However, it's a bill that's also faced intense criticism, with Democrats saying Medicaid cuts in the Big Beautiful Bill will leave millions uninsured and threaten rural hospitals. The GOP in the White House disputed those claims.
But for agriculture, for cotton farmers, would you call the One Big Beautiful Bill? Would you call this a win?
Oh, it absolutely is a win. And again, there's not only the enhancements to the safety net, there's also tax provisions that are going to extend some tax provisions that are critical to agriculture as well as other parts of the cotton supply chain. So yes, we know it has some controversial pieces to it, but as we look at the need to improve the safety net, this does that. And honestly, as we kind of look at the landscape in Washington, this is probably our one meaningful path in 2025 to get a farm bill done.
For Virginia farmer David Hula, he knows growers are focused on what they can control. And with fertilizer and input prices so high, farmers are only purchasing ones that can guarantee an ROI.
As any farmer right now, 2025 is going to be one of those to remember. Our inputs, clearly, paint costs more, irrigations cost more, fertility, some of it's a little more, crop protection. The biggest disappointment is that grain prices are going down.
Well, we heard from David Hula there. He will be part of this year's new event. It's called Yield Academy, and it's happening in Rochester, Minnesota on the final day of Crop Tour. We'll have a panel of experts slated for the event on Thursday, August 21st, including David Hula and Randy Dowdy, who host a new podcast called Breaking Barriers with R&D. The Yield Academy will cover things that will boost your bottom line and break yield barriers. So scan the QR code and get registered for Yield Academy right now. Well, when we come back, Trump is threatening Japan over rice, but there is a trade deal with one country. We have details in Ag Around the World next.